I would not have made a move if it wasn't for that. If 10, 20 million people did not see him say that Everlast would whip my there was no call for it, dog. If you didn't want to be in the beef, then you should have stayed out of the beef. You shouldn't have opened your mouth with an opinion. That's it. So that's why I dissed him.
When you think of Eminem, you think of one thing: his raw, unapologetic style. And while his music has made him a legend, his beefs with fellow artists have made their mark in hip-hop history. Over the years, Eminem has crossed paths with some of the biggest names in the industry, each feud more explosive than the last. So, which artists made it to the top 7 of Eminem's hate list? Let's start off with number 7, Snoop Dogg. Now, these two rap legends have a long history together. They've toured together, collaborated on iconic tracks, and both came up under the mentorship of Dr. Dre. Their bond seemed unbreakable, with Snoop being one of Eminem's biggest early supporters. For years, they were allies in the rap game, sharing stages and supporting each other's work. But in 2020, Snoop Dogg made a comment that sent shockwaves through the hip-hop world. In a public interview, Snoop stated that Eminem didn't belong in his personal top 10 list of rappers.
Put Eminem in a position where he could be labeled as one of the top 10 rappers ever. I don't think so, but the game feels like he's top 10 lyricists and all that comes with it, but that's just because he's with Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre helped him find the best Eminem that he could find.
For Eminem, this wasn't just a harmless opinion. It was a direct attack on his legacy and the years he'd spent carving out his place in the rap game. His reaction? A sharp and pointed response on the track Zeus, where he rapped, "Last thing I need is Snoop Dogg in me." This wasn't just an offhand remark. It was a clear message that Eminem felt disrespected by the comment. But it doesn't end there. While Eminem fired back, Snoop Dogg downplayed the situation. He referred to it as family business, attempting to suggest that it wasn't as big of a deal as the media made it out to be. However, for Eminem, this wasn't just about a casual disagreement. It was a matter of respect. He felt that the comment undermined everything they had built together, and his response reflected the weight of that sentiment.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all like everything was good until like, it was more like, I think it was more about the tone he was using that caught me off guard, because I'm like, yo, where is this coming from? I just saw you. Like, what the f? You know what I'm saying? Like, it threw me for a loop.
Despite Snoop's attempt to minimize the situation, the tension was clear and undeniable, marking a turning point in their relationship. This wasn't a small spat. It was a public rift between two men who had once called each other family. Next, we have number 6, Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. This feud goes way back to the early 2000s when the two first collaborated. Eminem even made an appearance in Limp Bizkit's music video for Break Stuff, signaling a time of mutual respect and creative partnership. At the time, they seemed like an unlikely yet powerful duo. However, things began to sour when Fred Durst became involved in Eminem's ongoing feud with Everlast. Initially, Fred Durst had sided with Eminem in the Everlast drama, but when DJ Lethal, a member of Limp Bizkit, made public comments in support of Everlast, the situation began to shift. Eminem felt betrayed by his longtime collaborator, especially when Durst started distancing himself from Eminem and even sided with Lethal. The tension reached its boiling point when D12 released the track Girls, which took direct shots at both Everlast and Limp Bizkit. Eminem was sending a clear message that he wouldn't stand by quietly, while his former allies aligned themselves with his enemies.
Like, I'm sitting back on TV, I'm sitting back at home watching the TV like, I think Everlast would whip his ass. I'm like, what? Fuck, you were supposed to be on the song with me. What kind of shit is that? Like, I would not have made a move if it wasn't for that. If 10, 20 million people did not see him say that Everlast would whip my there was no call for it, dog. If you didn't want to be in the beef, then you should have stayed out of the beef. You shouldn't have opened your mouth with an opinion. That's it. So that's why I dissed him. And I look at him as a group, and I dissed him, even though Fred, whatever, he's in the middle of it because that's his crew.
From there, Fred Durst fired back in several interviews, criticizing Eminem's image and persona. He accused Eminem of using shock value for fame and compared his gimmicky persona to his own more authentic self. These public jabs ultimately marked the end of their professional relationship. What began as a strong collaboration based on mutual respect and shared success quickly devolved into a bitter rivalry. Even years after the fallout, the two continued to take shots at each other, with Durst criticizing Eminem's career choices and Eminem returning fire in his music. This feud stands as a reminder of how quickly alliances in the music industry can crumble, especially when egos and loyalty are at stake. Which brings us to number 5, cannabis. This feud began in the late 1990s when Eminem had been eager to work with cannabis, one of the most respected lyricists in the game at the time. Eminem admired Cannabis's technical skills and had expressed his desire to collaborate with him. In fact, Eminem was so interested in working with Cannabis, which made Cannabis invited him to his music video shoot for I Honor You in hopes of discussing potential collaboration. This revelation immediately changed the dynamic between the two. Cannabis felt betrayed, especially because he had been excited about the possibility of collaborating. Confronted with the news, Cannabis asked Eminem directly about the ghostwriting, but Eminem denied the accusations.
And I was told that, and so my conversation with him was like, well, yo, why did you write that? And he said he was embarrassed and said I didn't write it, and so forth and so on. But I had enjoyed the opportunity of ever really working with him again.
Despite Eminem's denials, Cannabis was not convinced and soon launched his own lyrical attack with the release of Second Round Knockout in 1998. On this track, Cannabis took direct aim at Eminem, accusing him of being part of the ghostwriting situation and questioning his authenticity as a rapper. Eminem, as expected, didn't back down. He fired back with subliminal shots at Cannabis in his 1999 track, Role Model, referencing the ghostwriting rumors and using the situation as ammunition in their growing feud. The back and forth continued, as Eminem once again mentioned Cannabis in his 2002 track, Square Dance, cementing the tension between them. While the feud never reached the same explosive levels of Eminem's other beefs, it was a significant moment in the rap world. The Eminem-Cannabis conflict wasn't just about personal slights or public insults, it was about credibility and authenticity in hip-hop. Cannabis wanted to be respected for his lyrical ability, while Eminem sought to defend his own rising status in the game. Now, let's dive into number 4, Moby. The unlikely target of Eminem's wrath, Moby was a critic of Eminem's music, particularly his lyrics, which Moby deemed misogynistic and violent.
And I spoke out about this because Eminem had songs about killing gay people, putting them in the trunk of his car. And I was like, maybe this is not setting the best example for the 13-year-olds listening to.
This prompted Eminem to fire back in his track, Without Me, where he mocked Moby, calling him a 36-year-old bald-headed fag. The diss was harsh, as was the expectation that Moby would retaliate in some way. But here's where things get interesting. Moby didn't react in the way most would expect. Rather than engage in a back and forth, he remained largely silent about the diss, expressing more concern for Triumph the insult comic dog than for his own reputation. The lack of a meaningful response made this feud one of the oddest in Eminem's history. Moby later stated that he didn't take Eminem's insults personally, instead choosing to focus on his own music and career. His indifference only seemed to add fuel to Eminem's fire, turning a simple feud into a statement on Moby's calm detachment from the drama.
Did not, is I was doing an MTV interview and the journalist asked me, like, why does Eminem have such an issue with you? And I said, I don't know, maybe he's closeted and he just wants to make out with me. So that might have been my equivalent of like pouring kerosene.
Despite Moby staying out of the public spat, Eminem continued to use his music to take jabs at the electronic musician. And while Moby may have remained unbothered, Eminem ensured that their clash didn't fade into the background, using it to further shape his public persona. What started as a disagreement over Eminem's lyrics turned into a one-sided rivalry, with Eminem repeatedly referencing Moby in his tracks, unable to let go of the perceived slight. This back and forth, while lacking in direct confrontation, remained a curious chapter in Eminem's history of feuds. Here's where things get personal. Number 3, Christina Aguilera. What started as a harmless crush quickly spiraled into one of Eminem's most infamous feuds. In the early 2000s, both Eminem and Christina Aguilera publicly admitted to having a soft spot for each other. As Christina rose to fame with her pop hits, Eminem was becoming the voice of a generation in hip-hop. Their mutual attraction seemed harmless at first, but things took a sharp turn when Christina publicly criticized Eminem's violent lyrics, especially his portrayal of domestic violence in songs like 97 Bonnie and Clyde. She expressed concern over the graphic nature of his lyrics, particularly the troubling way he depicted his tumultuous relationship with his ex-wife, Kim.
Eminem? Yeah, totally. The girl that he talks about killing on his record.
In response, Eminem didn't hold back. He fired back in his track, The Real Slim Shady, mocking Christina's appearance and even accusing her of giving him an STD. The diss was personal, targeting Christina not only for her views on his music, but also for her image. This wasn't just about a critique of his work, it became an attack on her character. The back and forth continued to simmer in the public eye, with Eminem clearly making it a point to remind everyone of his power to control the narrative, even when it came to high-profile celebrities like Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera, however, didn't take the insults lying down. She responded with her anthem, "Can't Hold Us Down," which subtly called out Eminem for his treatment of women in his lyrics. The song was about empowerment and self-respect, a direct counter to Eminem's portrayal of women in his songs. While their feud didn't escalate into an all-out war like some of Eminem's other beefs, it marked a significant moment in his career. It revealed the conflict between his raw, controversial image and Christina's advocacy for respect and equality, making this feud one of his most personal and noteworthy. Number 2, Ja Rule. The rivalry between Eminem and Ja Rule is a complicated one, largely tied to the ongoing beef between 50 Cent and Ja Rule. Initially, Eminem wasn't directly involved in Ja Rule's conflict with 50 Cent, but as the feud escalated, Eminem found himself pulled in, especially when Ja Rule took aim at Eminem's family. Ja Rule insulted Eminem's mother, ex-wife, and daughter on the track Loose Change, and that's when Eminem decided enough was enough. He responded with the scathing diss track Bumpheads, a song that questions Ja Rule's authenticity.
Then all of a sudden comes out his face and says a line about my daughter.
I'm the cat and Kim is a known slut, so what's Hallie gonna be when she grows?
And I don't even carry guns, got undercover cops that'll legally pop. You know, a lot of people crossed the line, but God must have lost his mind, thinking he was DMX, then he's gonna be him next. So which one are you, Luther, Pac, or Michael? Same song, recite.
Despite Eminem declaring the feud over in 2004, Ja Rule continued to throw shots at Eminem and his crew. By the mid-2000s, Ja Rule seemed to rely on Eminem and 50 Cent for relevance, even as his career began to fade. This back and forth continued for years, making it one of the longest and most intense feuds in hip-hop history. And finally, number 1, Machine Gun Kelly.
Said, you know, it all started with the daughter thing.
What did you say about his daughter that got him so mad?
Yes.
What did you say?
You know what I said.
That she's hot.
She's
You
hot.
have to admit you was out of line.
She was
15, 16.
The most infamous of all Eminem's beefs. This one began in 2012 when MGK made a tweet about Eminem's daughter, Haley, calling her. That single tweet was enough to send Eminem into a fury. Years passed, but the tension bubbled beneath the surface. Then, in 2018, Eminem dropped his album, Kamikaze, and with it came the track Not Alike, where he took direct shots at MGK for his disrespectful tweet and his attempts to gain attention at Eminem's expense. MGK didn't back down. He came out with his own diss track, Rap Devil, a title that played off of Eminem's own Rap God. But the battle wasn't over yet. Eminem responded with Kill Shot, one of the most brutal diss tracks in recent rap history. The track broke YouTube records, and the beef seemed to reach its explosive peak. MGK claimed he wasn't impressed by Eminem's response, but his career never fully recovered in the hip-hop world. Meanwhile, Eminem came out victorious in what remains one of the most talked about rap battles of all time. So what do you think? Who truly won these legendary rap beefs? Was it Eminem? Or did these artists have their own moments of triumph? And how much of these battles were about personal pride, and how much was about staying relevant in a cutthroat industry? Drop your thoughts below and stay tuned, because when it comes to the world of Eminem and hip-hop, the drama is far from over.